Only a few of our species have ever been given the privilege of strolling on a moon's surface, so the rest of us have to make do with video games. For this list, we considered moons of many kinds, not just the one that we stare at every night. As long as it's a celestial body that orbits a primary body, we considered it. Sometimes it's a backdrop, sometimes it's a playground, and sometimes it's about to rain destruction down on your planet. Whatever their purpose, moons are magical, and these 10 games let us walk on them, if only for a short while.
Number 10. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island.
Level 5-8 of Yoshi's Island is a nighttime climb through a castle revealing a starry sky and ever-present moon. Upon reaching the castle's peak, Kamek banishes Yoshi to forever twinkle in the heavens, and one of the Super Nintendo's most memorable boss fights begins. Here, the camera stays locked to Yoshi, tying the player to the sphere's gravity and creating the convincing feeling of running around a practical little moon. In a poetic moment, Raphael the Raven turns into his own constellation when he's defeated, forever twinkling in the heavens.
Number 9. Super Mario Land 2.
Perhaps inspired by the stark contrast of the Game Boy's grayscale tones, Mario's second portable excursion takes him to a harsh lunar landscape. Without gravity's guiding force, each jump sends you floating to the unknown, and sticking a landing is harder than you might think. However, if luck is on your side, you'll sometimes find yourself rebounding skyward after you've fallen. Pig-like life forms spit at you from the surface, while rocket-propelled drones and a peeved planetoid patrol the skies. Overcome them to find the secret exit, and you'll sour the moon's mood as a star crashes into its surface and opens up an even more difficult level for you to survey.
Number 8. Beyond Good and Evil.
Throughout Beyond Good and Evil, you receive upgrades to your primary mode of transportation, and the final modification blasts you off the planet's surface and up to the chunk of rock that's been looming over your adventure the whole time. The moon base you explore concludes the game's story, houses some major spoilers, and ends in a canyon battle Fox McCloud would be proud of. It's an out-of-this-world ending to a game with a lot of whimsical detail.
Number 7. The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask.
It wasn't bad enough that a giant moon threatened the world in Majora's Mask, but Nintendo had to go and give it a creepy face. No matter where you are in the land of Termina, whenever Link looks to the sky, that evil grin is always looking down on him, savoring the thought of smashing the world into smithereens. Despite it being a looming threat, Link doesn't actually travel to the celestial body until the end of the game. Rather than a dark, barren wasteland, he encounters a vast green field with a tree in the middle and a strange little boy in a mask waiting. Speaking to the kid triggers a sequence that leads to the final boss battle with Majora, a surreal finale to one of the most bizarre games in the Zelda series.
Number 6. Duke Nukem 3D.
The mission to save our chicks takes Duke to the moon in a space station shootout called Lunar Apocalypse. The installation is a metallic maze filled with the usual welcome party of screaming, heavily armed meatheads. Despite Duke's unwavering machismo, the level is actually kinda creepy, with abandoned laboratories and underwater alien hives standing between the player and the switches or items needed for success. At times, the moon base shows Duke at his best, offering film and television parodies on top of legitimate, kick-ass action.
Number 5. Call of Duty Black Ops.
The Resurrection map pack took the Call of Duty franchise to the lunar surface for the first time in an arena for the Black Ops Zombies mode, simply called Moon. It brings new weapons, equipment, and enemy types to the frantic, kill or be devoured stampede of undead. Oxygen and gravity are elements that can't be ignored if you want to survive the onslaught, making the campy environment feel even more different than the other zombie-infested areas. While the accompanying narrative is no more profound than your typical B-level horror flick, the interiors and exteriors of the base are more elaborate than most entries on this list.
Number 4. Wolfenstein: The New Order.
In the sick and twisted alternate history of Wolfenstein: The New Order, the Nazi war machine has colonized a lunar research facility on the moon. It's up to BJ Blazkowicz to infiltrate the base, James Bond style, and obtain their nuclear launch codes. The Nazi Space Marines have standard-issue plasma rifles, which BJ can eventually equip for himself, but the real reward is stepping out onto the surface for the first time. So many games put you on a moon base full of hallways and corridors with only a window to tease the outside. Even though it's brief, the New Order constructs a tangible location in a realistic way.
Affirmative.
I believe in you, William.
Number 3. Gran Turismo 6.
When one of the world's most respected driving franchises reveals that it's going to the moon, you can't help but feel a little bit skeptical. GT6 didn't take its mission lightly though, recreating the lunar rover and a portion of the moon's topography and all the painstaking detail you'd expect from the series, simulating the vehicle's unique wheels and the weird scratching sounds they make as they interact with the terrain. The view is stunning as you speed downhill, but be gentle, as the low gravity can easily send you floating out of control.
Number 2. Final Fantasy IV.
For years, RPG fans heard how great Final Fantasy VI was because it had an opera. Final Fantasy IV has a giant mechanical lunar whale that serves as a spaceship that you ride to the moon. Once you arrive at this final area of the game, some of the most fearsome monsters await you, making some encounters nearly as difficult as a boss battle. Hidden beneath the lunar surface are some of the game's most powerful weapons, should you vanquish their guardians. The ultimate summon, Bahamut, is your reward for slaying the terrible beast. It all culminates in a showdown with the game's true antagonist, Zeromus, who is on the cusp of victory until the rallying cries of your comrades give you the strength to rise up one last time.
Number 1. DuckTales.
The final entry in our space saga is one small step for ducks and one giant pogo cane bounce for duck kind. Capcom's classic DuckTales follows Scrooge McDuck as he battles for the title of world's wealthiest duck, getting caught up in adventures spanning the Earth and beyond. As each level takes players to new heights, it becomes clear that this is a duck with his mind on his money and his money on the moon. Who could forget the cheese of longevity or Gizmo Duck's big assist? What presents itself as a seemingly simplistic world opens up to 3 interweaving areas: the lunar surface, the dark caverns below, and the massive floating interstellar vessel. Bottom line, the soundtrack alone sends us into irresistible orbits of nostalgia.